Finally, the thunderstorm has passed, and it's all sunny again. No clouds in sight, no need to spend the day indoors, after all. Suddenly, a lightning bolt slams into a tree just 100 feet away. Whoa, what just happened? Can storms be invisible? Is Thor fighting someone near your home? No. This is an exceedingly rare but very real weather phenomenon that scientists call bolts from the blue. Sounds unbelievable and a bit scary? Well, today I'm talking about nature's weirdest and deadliest jump scares. But first, back to science class for a second. What causes thunderstorms and lightning in the first place? On a sunny day, the ground gets toasty and the air near it heats up. As this warm, moist air rises, it enters colder layers of the atmosphere. The moisture condenses into tiny water droplets, and when they gather, well done, now we have a big puffy cloud. But sometimes the rising air just won't stop. It keeps going until you get one of those towering thunderclouds called cumulonimbus. Inside them, it's chaos. Raindrops, ice chunks, and water are tossed around like they're in a big sky blender. When those little bits bump into each other, they trade tiny electrical charges. All that bumping and crashing swaps those charges until the whole cloud turns into a charged-up battery. Positive up top, negative down below, ground buzzing underneath. Then, boom! The imbalance breaks and a lightning bolt tears through the sky. In a split second, it superheats the air to around 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is hotter than the surface of the sun. The air explodes outward so fast that it creates a shockwave, and that's the starting sound of thunder that wakes up your dog. Normally, all this happens right under the storm. Since it can look scary, you know it's time to run inside. However, lightning doesn't always like these rules, and that's when we get the so-called bolts from the blue. Under normal lightning, these launch from the very top of a storm, travel sideways through the upper atmosphere, and then dive down, sometimes up to 30 miles away. They can be extremely dangerous. That's why experts recommend the 30-30 rule. If lightning and thunder are less than 30 seconds apart, get inside and wait 30 minutes after the last rumble. This all sounds frightening, but remember, the odds of being struck by lightning are already incredibly small. And when it comes to a bolt from the blue, it's so rare that scientists don't even have enough data to calculate the odds. Now, most lightning stays within 10 miles of the storm where it originated. When it travels more than 60 miles, we call that a mega flash. In 2017, scientists recorded one spanning 510 miles from Texas to near Kansas City, twice as wide as California. Now, let's talk about another weather-related surprise that comes out of nowhere. They are called dry microbursts, bursts of air that can cause chaos. Here's how it works. High up in the thunderstorm, raindrops begin to fall. But as they drop through a layer of very dry air, something strange happens. They evaporate before reaching the ground. And when that happens, it cools the surrounding air really fast. Now, that cold air is suddenly way heavier than the air below it, so it drops like a rock, picking up speed as it falls. These wind blasts can reach speeds of over 100 miles an hour, hit an area less than 3 miles wide, and last only 5 to 15 minutes. But in that time, they can flatten trees and hurl dust like a low-flying sandstorm. That hurricane-force wind blasts straight downward from the clouds, then slams into the ground and spreads out in all directions like a mini shockwave, like the ground was hit by an invisible air meteor. Such microbursts are especially dangerous for airplanes during takeoff and landing. A sudden downward burst of air can tilt, destabilize, or even flip a plane if it's low enough. First, the outflow gives it a tailwind, making the plane lift. But just seconds later, the wind shifts to a powerful headwind, cutting lift and forcing the plane down dangerously fast. In other words, it gets pushed forward, then slammed down, then slowed down too much, all while it's trying to land. The pilot only has a few seconds to react, and there's not much room under the plane to recover. It's like the sky's just changing its mind 3 times in a row, and the plane gets caught in the middle. Microbursts were once such a mystery that pilots had almost no defense. But after several major accidents in the 1980s, studying them became a top priority in meteorology. Today, airports use Doppler radar and wind shear alerts to catch them before they occur. For the next weather trap, imagine yourself walking through a peaceful valley at sunset. The air is still, the sky is clear, everything feels calm, almost too calm. Then, suddenly, the temperature drops in just a few minutes. You actually feel the cold sliding down the hills like fog, creeping along the ground and pulling around your ankles like an invisible air creature with cold hands. Your breath becomes visible, your hands start to burn from the chill, and you just stand there confused. This phenomenon is called the cold air pool. Basically, when the sun goes down, the ground cools fast. The air right above it cools too. Cold air is heavier than warm air, so it slides downhill like invisible water. If you're in a valley, basin, or any kind of bowl-shaped area, that cold air settles at the bottom and just sits there because there's no wind to push it away. If the skies are clear, the air keeps getting colder and colder overnight. And since the cold air can't escape the valley, the temperature can plummet to record lows, even if places just a few miles away have perfectly normal temperatures. This isn't just chilly, it can be life-threatening. In winter, this effect is stronger and more dangerous because from the beginning, the air is already cold, so we have extreme lows. In a place called Park Sinks, Utah, temperatures have dropped as low as minus 69 degrees. That's colder than some parts of Antarctica. And it happens without warning. One moment it's sweater weather, and a few minutes later it's, man, I hope I still have fingers. If cold air pools are like nature's freezer, then strudels are its drain holes. They form in spring when snowmelt floods river deltas over sea ice. The incoming freshwater floods the surface, finds cracks or weak spots, and drains downward in narrow jets. Think of vertical whirlpools cutting through the ice. This drainage is driven not by salty water trickling up, but by the pressure of the flooded layer pressing through cracks and seal breathing holes. From above, they spin into perfect spirals, almost too pretty for something that can rip through sea ice. These jets can dig into the seafloor, creating holes that can be several feet deep. This is risky if you're on the ice and could be a problem for any underwater pipelines nearby. Terrifying if you're too close, but mesmerizing if you could see them from above. Now these weather quirks are interesting, but there are more. Ever heard of ball lightning? A glowing orb floating across your room, humming, and then pop. No one really knows how it works, but it's been spotted on planes and in kitchens. Then there are sprites and blue jets, bolts of lightning that shoot upward from storms into the stratosphere like sky tentacles or neon jellyfish. Gorgeous, spooky, and visible only from above. Not to forget Haboob, a massive wall of dust that rolls across the desert like it's auditioning for a disaster movie. One minute it's sunny, the next it's midnight at noon, with grit on your teeth and sand in your eyebrows. But these are for some other time. The bottom line is, nature is beautiful and unpredictable. Sometimes it launches a lightning bolt from a sunny sky, or turns calm weather into a down-blasting wind hammer. So, next time you complain about the bad weather, remember, at least it's not trying to ambush you with unexpected freezing or bolts of lightning without clouds and rain in sight. Good luck! That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.